Have you ever said to yourself that maybe you're just going to get a few cards, maybe some Pikachus, maybe some Eevees, and then it turns into you getting pre-orders, different types of boxes, then you get a binder, and then all of a sudden you've got the second binder, that third binder, and you don't know how they've filled up? Yep, we've all been there. Today we're digging into why so many people say they're going to start off small with Pokemon and then somehow end up getting way deeper than that they planned. Let's talk about what's really going on behind the habit and how you can take back a little bit of control. Or at least, how you can pretend to. So for a lot of people, it might have started innocently enough. You might have wanted that nostalgic card that brings you back to your childhood, especially for people that are maybe my age, in their late 20s and early 30s. Who were playing maybe the games and collecting the Pokemon cards when they were at school. Maybe you are thinking about the first Pokemon that you ever got, or the first Pokemon that you ever picked in a game. One of my first ones was on Pokemon Silver, also Pokemon Crystal potentially, and I always picked Cyndaquil because I really like the fire Pokemon. So then you hop online, you find a listing of that card, of that Pokemon that you wanted, and you end up buying it. And it feels great. And then you think, ooh, I really like this card. It'd be cool to have maybe the matching holo, or the Japanese version, and then suddenly, like if I've started off with Cyndaquil, I get the whole evolution line. Just like that, you're spiraling faster than a Gyarados in a whirlpool. And why do we do it? Because collecting taps into a natural progression. A lot of us crave completion, and a lot of us are completionists. We just like to complete things. People like having perfection. And then that checklist mentality kicks in. Make sure you've got that, you make sure you've got that, you make sure you've got that, and then you're done. And all of a sudden, it's not just about collecting that one Pokemon, such as Pikachu, anymore. You're completing absolutely everything. And it's about building something that feels whole. Let's be honest, the rush of finding a card can often be a lot better than the rush of owning the card. Things like sniping the last auction, or spotting a hidden gem in a bulk bin, or just ripping a fresh pack. There's something electric about finding that's something new, and all about that chase. A lot of us crave that chase of finding something great. We like that more than the actual having the product. And if we're talking about recent times, if we add that to limited stock, price rises, and the dreaded FOMO, so that fear of missing out, suddenly every pack that we're opening feels like a time-sensitive mission. And eventually, you're like Indiana Jones collecting relics, dodging scalpers, trying to get that single card that you want. But it's not just the hunt, it's the feeling. Pokemon is personal to many of us. Maybe you collected as a kid. Maybe you traded cards at break time in school. Or maybe you never got to, and you're trying to do it again in adulthood and trying to relive your childhood. Which is a really nice experience because there are lots of opportunities to do that. If you go to your local card shop, card shows, your LGS, it's the same thing. But if you go to those kind of places, there are those opportunities to do it. And a lot of us like to do it, and it's great. And you see it all the time on YouTube. So why can't you do it as well? Then if we think about that emotional connection, it runs really deep in a lot of us. They aren't just cards, they're memories, they're comfort, they're escapism, and they're a little bundle of joy in that little plastic sleeve. Now let's talk about the total rational part of collecting Pokemon. A lot of us tell ourselves it's not just fun, it's a really smart financial decision, right? Right? Some cards go up in value, a lot don't. And a lot of people spend more on the chase than they ever will earn back. Obviously, though, there are those who've made a lot of money, and they're the kind of people that a lot of people are aspiring to be. But if we think about it rationally, that's probably quite a small percentage of the people that actually are collecting. So there are a lot of people that are just doing it for the fun. A lot of people, scalpers, are doing it for the money. But personally, they're not really doing it in the right way. You see a lot of these big guys, though, these shops and things, people at card shows who are doing it in the right way. And I know a lot of people want to do that as well. And for a lot of people, the way they're buying, it's like almost trying to buy the lottery ticket for a retirement plan. Like you're maybe ripping a load of Evolving Skies, looking for the Moonbryon, and the odds aren't very high. Although technically it is possible, so who might say? The market itself, though, is extremely volatile. Unless you're ultra informed or ultra lucky, this strategy often ends up with you overbuying and often in denial. So how do we keep this hobby fun, enjoyable, without it being financially devastating? For many of us, a lot of us can't afford to spend lots and lots of pounds or dollars or whatever you use on buying thousands and thousands of high value Pokemon cards. Give yourself a monthly limit, a card strategy, or a completion goal to try and figure out what you want to do personally. Wait a day, and if you still want it tomorrow, maybe it's worth it. And if not, congrats, you've dodged the $40 impulse buy. My advice would be, don't start buying cards in the middle of the night. I've done it before and I've regretted it. And I've thought, why have I just spent all that money on those cards? So kind of set yourself a time period that might be good for you. So maybe you're thinking, oftentimes I would say me personally, I would be buying between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. because that's the time maybe when I'm most rational and have the most clear head. When I'm sitting in bed, scrolling through my phone before I actually go to sleep, I'm probably really tired and not really thinking clearly. Do I want to spend 50 quid on something that might be going down in price, might be going up in price, and it's probably at that time of the night more of an impulse buy? And I know a lot of people do it. Try and track your spending as well. Awareness is powerful and a spreadsheet is really good. Although sometimes doing a spreadsheet can be quite boring, it does take a lot of time, but in the long run, it's probably a good investment to make. And join groups that focus on sharing and advice rather than just showing off their rare pulls, although it is really cool to see that kind of stuff, But then you kind of get that FOMO of why they're getting it and you not getting it. And there are like a plethora of groups that you could go into. There are loads of things on like Facebook, there are probably WhatsApp, there's Discord. Join them, try and find the one that's right for you. There are really good communities out there which will help you and help you think about what kind of things you want to do when you're thinking about going into Pokemon. And if you're unsure, maybe just watch like a 10-minute clip of someone opening Evolving Skies, and that'll kind of bring you back down to earth and think, maybe I shouldn't be investing so much money into pulling those packs because sometimes the sets are really, really hard. And look, if we're going to end it off here, collecting Pokemon is supposed to be fun. So whether you're in it for the art or the nostalgia or the money, just keep an eye on when the fun stops becoming fun and it starts becoming stress. Your collection doesn't have to be massive to be meaningful. And sometimes a single card can mean a lot more to you than a whole shelf or whole binder of cards that you don't really care about. And one of my favourite cards at the minute is this. The Charizard from 151, which is, I think, a lot of people's favourite cards. 151 is something that brings nostalgia. For people my age, it's those Pokemon that we all loved and enjoyed. It was those Pokemon that we played the games with. It was those Pokemon that were first on the cards that we collected. So they are something that brings us back to when we were really young and something that we all really enjoyed and something that we remember. Like the first generation of Pokemon are the Pokemon that I remember the most and like the most. I do like Generation 2 and Generation 3 a bit as well. But the later generations are something that I don't know as much about, but I am starting to learn about them, and it is really cool because there are loads of Pokemon out there which I don't really know and which do have really cool things about them and look really cool, have cool cards. So what was your first time when you thought, I'm just going to buy this one card, and then it started spiraling out of control? Drop your story into the comments and we can all share it with each other. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology, the chaos of collect, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you can see every video that comes up. So I'm going to have more stories, more nostalgia, and more strategy about collecting Pokemon cards coming soon. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.